Ideal mesmo para o mundo atual seria fazer o ensino médio junto com o curso técnico, certo? É no Senac que o aluno tem autonomia de verdade, formação cidadã, foco na diversidade, preparação pro Enem, material didático sem taxas e muito mais. Na real, tem tudo que você precisa para se sentir preparado para a vida. Seja para entrar no mundo do trabalho ou te ajudar a decidir o que fazer na faculdade. Quer saber? Senac. Vem comigo! Acesse sp.senac.br/ensino-médio-técnico.
Today on CityCast Philly, the team and I are recording here at the Fiddler Club. It's a private club and co-working space and a whole lot more right here in Center City. We've got a lot of lattes and a lot of conversations because it's the Friday News Roundup. We're talking about who testified during the Sixers arena proposal hearings. The family of Robert Jones wants answers in an off-duty officer shooting. Plus, SEPTA reached a tentative deal, Sixers fell to 2-12, and there's a loud karaoke taxi driving around town. It's Friday, November 22nd. I'm Trenae Nuri, and here's what Philly's talking about. Matt, Abby, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, guys.
Hi, guys. Almost the weekend.
Woohoo! Thank God. All right, let's start off with the Sixers arena hearings. What's the latest?
Yeah, there's a lot going on, as usual. Last week, Trenae, you caught us up on the first round of the 76ers arena hearings, but we've had some more since then. There's been hearings on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday just this week alone, and these included time for the public to speak on the issue, which I think is different from when we spoke last time. So there were comments across the board for and against this issue. Definitely want to emphasize that. I think all sides were represented. But for a quick recap, if some of y'all have been under a rock and don't know what I'm talking about, there's a $1.3 billion plan to build a new 76ers stadium in Center City. This would replace a portion of the Fashion District Mall on Market between 10th and 11th. And everybody has an opinion on this right now. Mm-hmm. People love it. People hate it. You know, it's very close to Chinatown. And I read an article on Philly Voice that kind of recapped what people had to say at the hearings. And something that really stuck out to me was some community leaders in Chinatown pointed to the fact that the community impact study, which was released back in August, said that about half of the 300 businesses in Chinatown would likely be negatively impacted by the building of this arena, but that gentrification would happen with or without it. And they kind of rebutted this by saying, like, okay, this promise of gentrification doesn't excuse all of the wrongdoing or these negative impacts to half of the businesses that they say will happen. And they argue that there's things that can be done if, in fact, the 76ers stadium gets built in Center City. These community leaders pointed to the Stitch project, which we've talked about on the podcast before, where they're going to cap a part of the expressway to reconnect the sides of Chinatown that were split by its building. And that they know that that project will cause some sort of gentrification, but they're setting aside funding to use in an effort to not displace people that are already there in the community. And they're working in advance to make sure that these things don't happen. And they want the 76ers to do the same. And they don't think that the $50 million that's being offered by the team right now as a community benefits agreement is sufficient. And they actually said they think it's about like half of what should be given to them if this arena is built. Wow. If Mark Squilla, the city council member of District 1, which this project falls into that district, and he also sponsored this legislation.
He supports it. He's like now become kind of the face of this in city council. Yeah,
totally all for it. He says he agrees, and he thinks that the $50 million is not enough, and that they're still in negotiations, and that likely that number might change.
But remember, Sixers representatives said that number might not change.
Right.
Oh, yeah. So
that
we'll see.
does seem to be like the thing that they can negotiate most over when it comes to this. If this is going to happen, it seems like that's the number that would potentially move.
Totally. Because another interesting perspective from these meetings is that SEPTA officials spoke about their concerns with the project. Yep. And I know we're going to talk more about SEPTA later, but mostly relating to how SEPTA will have to expand if the arena is moved, and that they aren't sure that they have the funding to keep up with that type of increased demand in that area.
That means like more trains during game days, that kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. The Philly Voice article said the officials crunched the numbers and that they would need $32 million in infrastructure upgrades to Jefferson Station, which is the regional rail station closest to where the arena would be built. They would also need 20 more regional rail cars and 5 more buses just for game nights to be running, and that they think all of that with the increased cars and buses would cost $20 million to $25 million per year.
Plus this tentative deal that they just locked in with the union.
Oh, with that SEPTA locked in with the union, yeah,
Right.
for the labor deal. Yeah, right.
Totally. Like, where is this funding going to come from is kind of, I think,
Yeah,
what's
because
on
they're
top of
giving
everyone's
raises
mind.
to the SEPTA workers, the
Right.
unionized workforce. That was just announced this week. So that's more money coming from SEPTA's coffers. And we know
Totally.
that SEPTA is broke. They're
Yeah.
in what they call a death spiral. What do we know about the tentative deal with the operators unions?
Sure. So the Transport Workers Local 234 TWU members will get a 5% raise in a year contract. And that's according to people familiar with this deal. And there's also going to be like a pension adjustment as well. Now, what also stood out is that they emphasize that they can only really do a 1-year contract
Yeah.
because, you know, as we've been talking about, there still is no state funding coming as of yet. So the agency, you know, wants to just make sure that they can afford this deal.
Totally. Is that usual? So that's not usual then to have a 1-year contract.
No, it should
No.
be usually
Yeah.
multi-year. But this means that we could be in this situation again a year from now where there's a looming strike. They also got some safety precautions, I read, like bulletproof enclosures for the buses, for the drivers.
Right. So this stadium, we're talking the year 2031. So we have to kind of figure out or project how are things going to look like for
SEPTA,
our SEPTA, our transit agency.
Yeah, long term. Squilla did say that the 76ers would cover infrastructure costs at Jefferson Station. So that's a big help.
That's just expanding the capacity of Jefferson Station just to handle extra people, extra trains.
Yes. But like, given all of these kind of budget deficits that we've been talking about and all these moving parts, they don't know how additional services would be funded at this moment. It's not clear to them. SEPTA also noted that 40% of fans would need to take public transit to avoid like gridlock situations in Center City.
Wow.
Which like, and that's also assuming they get all of that increased, you know, coverage of buses and trains during that time. While right now only 10 to 20% of fans use it to get to the South Philly complex. So that would be, you know, a really big increase.
I'm shocked it's only 10 to 20%. I've been on packed trains on the Broad Street line leaving that stadium.
I've been in the gridlock.
Yeah, there you go. So we've seen both. I think they're thinking, you know, there might be able to be some increased use if it's closer to the regional rail stations, because right now people would have to come into the city and then also get on the BSL to get down to South Philly. So I think maybe they're thinking it might be a little easier if Jefferson Station has more capacity and has trains running at more frequent times.
Right.
But they don't know if that will happen.
Okay, so what about the other side? Has anyone spoken this week in support of the arena?
Totally. There's been a lot of people that have spoken in support. A specific group that interested me was local union members. A lot of them want to see this project built. I think you mentioned this last week too, Trenae, but about 9,000 construction jobs could be created, as well as, you know, some like up to like 3,000 long-term employment opportunities relating to like arena operations. So like, you know, people working inside the arena that'll be built. They also brought up what it would mean for the city in terms of development if they turned down $1.3 billion of private capital. Like, their argument is the city doesn't have to fund this. They're being offered $1.3 billion to develop a part of the city that everybody is like, yeah, it's not doing great right now. There's not a lot of shops open. Like, what are developers going to think if we say, no, go pound sand, we don't want your $1.3 billion, and then like other people are going to look and be like, well, they didn't take that money. Why would they take ours? You know, which I do. I think that's a really interesting argument of like, yeah, this is private capital. This is not something that the city will have to fund. And they really think that, it is necessary to expand in the East Market Street area and that this development will be like critical to revitalizing it. I think, there's lots of arguments for and against what that means, but I did think it was an interesting perspective.
With the backdrop of us still grappling over being a city that is so impacted by poverty.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
And what could this mean for families in getting work?
Totally. There's definitely positives here, and I think a lot of people see both sides. A couple lingering things that stuck out to me was like City Council President Kenyatta Johnson got a clarification that the arena wouldn't impact nearby Jefferson Hospital, which I think a lot of people were worried about. Also something interesting, an associate professor at Penn of regional planning spoke and told city council members that, like, historically in other big cities, downtown arenas have not lived up to the expectations, saying they create quote-unquote dead zones when there aren't any games and don't generate the tax revenue that's projected generally.
Because there's only 41 regular season games at home a year. So that's 41 nights, maybe a couple afternoons.
Yes.
But could you use the arena for
Other
high school
things.
Graduations?
Sure.
Like, that's like a
Totally.
big thing in the city.
Concerts.
Right.
Totally. Yeah.
Other events.
Yeah, I think the argument is that he's like, it's not like an everyday thing like a mall, but so this dead zone idea is an interesting angle too.
Then again, there's already a dead zone there now.
Exactly.
If you
So
go, there's not a lot of people walking through the fashion district.
Totally.
these days.
Okay,
Like,
do
what are
they
we
want
changing?
me to sing and host live podcasts?
Yeah, there we go.
We do.
Definitely, these are just some points on both sides that were made. Definitely check out the recordings. And also, if you want to talk at one of these, the next hearing is going to be on December 2nd from 6 to 9 p.m. So you can go and have your voice heard about how you feel about the arena.
All right, Abby, Matt, we'll be right back with more news of the week.
Ok, legal, tá bom, normal.
Parar toda hora para abastecer? Não é legal. Mude para um Haval H6, o híbrido que conquistou o Brasil e tem a maior autonomia do segmento, com até 170 km no modo elétrico. Haval H6, a linha SUV eletrificada mais completa do país. GWM, Hello Tomorrow. Paz no trânsito começa por você. Consulte autonomia no site gwmmotors.com.br.
Matt, tell us the story of the family of Robert Jones. He's a local guy and was killed by an off-duty officer. What's going on?
Yeah, it's really a curious incident. This was early October, 11:30 at night, up in Northeast Philly, Willits Road and Home Avenue. And for reasons that are still unclear, Robert Jones, 54-year-old guy, he's driving behind a homicide detective, Christopher Sweeney. And the cars are stopped. And at some point, Robert Jones gets out of his vehicle and he approaches Sweeney's car. Again, we don't know why he did this, but as Jones approaches him, and this is from the Inquirer story, according to police accounts, Sweeney, the officer, pulls out a gun and he fires through the driver's side window, like does not roll down the window, just fires at Jones, kills him. He went to the hospital, but he died. Now, this happened more than 6 weeks ago, and we still don't know why. There have been no criminal charges filed, and the family of Robert Jones says they have not gotten any answers from authorities. Larry Krasner, the district attorney, says he's still investigating. The cop, Christopher Sweeney, he's on administrative leave, but he has not been charged. He has not been fired. And we do know, according to what the Inquirer has reported, that Jones, the victim here, had no weapon on him. They actually searched in the sewers to see if maybe he had a knife or a gun or something. And his family told reporters that he actually worked part-time as a roadside assistant and was wearing a reflective vest when he approached Sweeney's vehicle. So on one hand, this just is another story, the ones that have come out so many times over the last several years, of an unarmed man being shot and killed by a police officer, right? This has happened in cities across the country. But unlike those instances, there is no video of this. Often they're because of body cams, and the requirement that body cameras be put on officers' uniforms, which has been popping up all over the country. This was happening off duty, right? So there is no video
ring
footage.
cameras.
Apparently not. I mean, there doesn't appear to be. So what do we make of this? I mean, it does seem really bizarre, and it made me think of two things. First of all, is this officer getting special treatment because he's a cop? Would a regular person who shot an unarmed man on the side of the road be allowed to continue to walk free while an investigation drags on for more than 6 weeks? And that is clearly like a question I'm having. Mm-hmm. And the other thought I had was, so happy to have local reporters in this town because it's something we just wouldn't know about. This is not something that would be posted on the police department's Facebook page, for example. I'm glad that Ellie Rushing and other reporters have been covering the story and talking to the family. And I just hope there's some more answers for the Jones family sometime soon.
What I'm curious about is that Krasner did say that it would take maybe 30 days to get some type of information or update.
And we're beyond that now. Whenever the investigations are continuing, whenever I've gotten that response as a reporter from authorities, I'm always wondering what exactly is still happening, right? I mean, you look for the weapon, you look for cameras in the area, you interview everybody involved, and when it drags on for more than 6 weeks, it makes both the family of the victims and the media suspicious that there's an attempt to just let this fade away.
Yeah, you lose that urgency.
Right. And it's also like, how many more stories are local reporters going to continue to do that just say the family of this victim is looking for answers? I mean, at some point, the story just, it fades away. So keep an eye out for more on this. Again, Robert Jones, he was 54. He was a tradesman who was a construction union guy, and he apparently was also somebody who worked part-time as a roadside assistance person. So we'll be following this as much as possible.
For sure. We've got more news after this break. All right, as we get closer to the weekend, have you guys heard about this karaoke taxi?
Oh my God, I have. I have not seen it.
You haven't? I haven't seen it either. I've heard about it, right? It's called Fun Cab Karaoke Taxi. So the premise is that there is a wagon being pulled by a pickup truck, and people are holding microphones and blasting music, belting out to like Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, classic karaoke songs.
Yeah.
And they're driving or they're taking rides around like Midtown Village, Center City, Old City. Problem is, surprise, surprise, people don't like it.
Wait, what time of day are they doing this?
Come on, at night. This is like birthdays, bachelorette parties.
Yeah.
People don't want to hear single ladies blasting out of a speaker while they're trying to go to sleep.
They're taking rides, South Street, Rittenhouse Square.
Yeah.
So, you can't scream during these rides, but you can sing and pissing people off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I bet.
There's also other things like the Big Red Pedal Tours, which is like that open air bus tour with like 12 seats on each side. You got to pedal the contraption. That's riding around Old City and South Street. And then you have Tipsy Trolley Karaoke, which is through the Founding Footsteps, which is a BYOB tour of Philadelphia. I don't know. Maybe this could be another team activity, but I guess we have to be quiet for the grumpy Philadelphians.
Yeah.
What song do you want to wake up Philadelphians to in your karaoke taxi ride, Trenae?
Great question.
Ooh. We could go, because I'm envisioning this. This is like Friday night, Saturday night, right? Okay. Yeah. In this time period, the Eagles are hot, y'all.
Right.
Give me some dreams and nightmares.
Yeah, nice.
My thing is, grumpy people are going to be grumpy. Let people live. Life is already stressful. It's the freaking holidays around the corner. Like, we got to celebrate these milestones that we get. Life is too short, and let people sing.
Yeah, let off some steam.
Yeah. All right, we got some reactions from the dog story.
Yeah, we did.
Listen, y'all, if y'all don't know about the dog story, this week I got to chat with Shanice Ajiwe from Philly Mag, who wrote a really cool piece about just Philly's dog culture. And, we, talked about, pick up the poop, be courteous.
Yeah.
Think about your dog.
Think about safety of others.
Yeah, like maybe rethink taking the dog to the CVS and the Whole Foods. And we're not anti-dog. We love dogs. We love the pooches and the pups. But what kind of reaction did we get from this episode?
Yeah, people are moved by this situation.
Oh.
I would say the reaction that we received via text and email was mostly like, thank you for bringing up this topic that we otherwise feel like we can't talk about because we like dogs, but we get super irritated at the poop and the fact that they're showing up by the toothpaste at CVS, just some dog rolling up to you. And also people were telling us that the long leash situation, when you're walking down the sidewalk and they've got that long ass leash and then you as the human being have to move out of the way so the dog can, be 10 feet away from its owner.
Right. Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I'm like curtsying to the dog, like, excuse me.
Like they're royalty or something. We got a text. Hey, folks, up at 13th and Only, they open their doors and out come barking, pooping dogs as you're trying to get to your nursing shift at the hospital. OMG, it's on my shoes.
Oh, my God.
That's one text. We got an email from a listener named Michael. He said, during Election Day, I had people walking in with their dogs to the polling places.
Oh, my
You
gosh.
check the rules, and nowhere does it state dogs are allowed except for service dogs, but nobody was challenged on this. Like, nobody said, hey.
Right, because you can't say
Yeah, and you don't want to do
anything.
voter suppression.
Right.
And, if they're bringing their dog to the polling place, they're going to get all defensive if you try to say, hey, get your dog out of here. So if you have any other feelings about dogs in Philly, first of all, listen to our episode this week. And second of all, shoot us a text, 215-259-8170. We want to hear all the complaints.
Yeah, talk to us. All right, what's everyone doing this weekend?
Unfortunately, I'm going to the Sixers game on tonight. I mean, Trenae, Abby, this team sucks. And it's in disarray. It's not like it's just bad. They're in disarray. And they were supposed to be a legit championship contender. I mean, I am looking at the standings right now. They have the worst record in the league. They are 2-12.
Wow.
There have been now several controversies already, 14 games into the season. We had Embiid, Joel Embiid, our superstar, shoving a reporter from the Inquirer who wrote something he didn't like. We had a team meeting this week in which it was leaked that our other star, Tyrese Maxey, called out Embiid for showing up late to practices and whatnot. And then Embiid, did you see? You showed me this morning, right, Trenae?
Yeah. He was like pissed that somebody leaked that information.
Embiid was pissed.
Right.
Yeah. He goes, whoever leaked that is a real piece of shit.
Well, they said expletive, but
we can read between the lines.
Yeah.
But so he didn't take really responsibility for it. He just said,
well, we don't know. But he's like, you guys are going to blame me for everything. So I don't know. It's bad.
yeah,
It's
it's bad. It's really
messy.
upsetting. And then the other issue is we had this third star, Paul George, who's new to the Sixers and was supposed to complement Maxey and Embiid this year and bring us a championship finally. But now he's hurt. Maxey's been hurt. And Embiid is so either out of shape or unable to play every day for whatever lingering issues he might have medically that he's not going to play in back-to-back games all season, they say. So I spend way too much on this tickets tonight.
Really?
Yeah, because I bought it before the season.
Oh, I went to the
tickets
game
were
last
high.
week and the tickets were cheap.
I know,
I got to
they're-
the 100 section. I was like, oh!
They're so cheap now. I should not have purchased them before the season because they're like, $10, $15. So now's the time to go to a Sixers game
And sit close.
and sit close, but you're not
date night.
necessarily going to see good basketball.
Well, Jeremy McCain, he was throwing threes, and I was like, hey now.
That's true.
Yeah.
There is one there's one positive to this whole season, and that's the emergence of this rookie, Jared McCain, who's super exciting to watch.
But don't you feel like it's still kind of early though? Like, you know how Philly gets. We talk so much crap, and it's like, Jesus, let's settle things a little bit. I mean, we can like recoup and
I guess, but I mean, you're competing for a playoff spot. And even though, you know, a lot of teams in the NBA make the playoffs, that's like part of the thing, still there's a lot of ground to make up. And if these guys don't even seem to be getting along.
Well, you see, I'm not a big sports watcher, but, you know, of course, always root for the Philly teams. But if I'm going to get a cheap ticket, I'll go to see some drama. Yeah, I'll go to see them fight on the sidelines. Are you kidding me? That sounds fun.
Abby, what are you doing this weekend?
The Philly Marathon is this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to watch my friend run. And we're prepping this weekend. We're getting together a little kit so I can like throw him, you know, goo or whatever the like energy running things is that he wants. And then we always, after he does long runs, which I never do them, he does like all that stuff. We always get soup of some sort. So last time we got hot pot. I think this time we're thinking ramen.
Ooh,
so
nice.
yeah,
Sounds
be
so
a fun
great
weekend.
for
cozy.
post-marathon. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to Joseph's Pizza Parlor up in Fox Chase. They have on Sunday night Sinatra night.
Oh, cute.
I've never done this type of stuff, and I'm really excited. You have to send an email to them if you want a reservation.
Is it a live performance or are they just?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, live music, pizza, all before the Eagles games.
Oh wow.
And the Eagles are hot, y'all. Did you see Jalen Hurts on GMA?
Yeah. You're talking, I think that reaction you just had was, I'm sure, based on the fact that he's giving away air conditioning to Philly schools for every
lots
touchdown.
of charity.
Not because of how good he looked on GMA, right?
Of course not. And speaking of, if you need some good music, guys, the Philly Special Christmas Party album came out today. Woo. This is like the hottest Christmas album in America. And guess what? We're talking to Charlie Hall, who is the producer of the album. Oh my God, can't wait. That episode is coming out on Monday.
Stay tuned, everybody.
Abby, Matt, thank you so much. See you soon.
Have a great weekend, Philadelphia.
Bye, Trenae. See you next
Bye.
week.
That's a wrap for us this week here on CityCast Philly. Check out our other episodes from this week on dogs and weather and Thanksgiving meals and trash. Our executive producer is Matt Katz. Our producer is Abby Fritz. Our Hey Philly newsletter editor is Ava Wynowski. And our host is me, Trenae Nuri. Music is by Philly's own Interminable, with additional music from All the Kimonos. If you enjoyed this week of episodes, please tell a friend, tell your neighbor, tell your barista, tell somebody. Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our morning newsletter, Hey Philly. We'll be back Monday morning with some music and some more news from around the city. Have a great weekend and be safe, y'all. Bye.